Hey Vivas, and welcome to episode 15 of season 2. We are trucking along. We are so happy to have you with us today. I do want to start out this episode by saying there were some horrible events that happened in our country on Wednesday, and I want to be with you, and I want to make sure that you feel empowered to write your senators and call your congresspeople and make sure that our voices are heard. We are coming up on the inauguration of our new president. We now have the Senate because we won the senator's race in Georgia. And so things can look up. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I just want to celebrate that with you. I want to celebrate our lives. I want to celebrate the fact that we love each other. I want to celebrate the fact that I have a legend on the show today. But before we get to Viva Aaliyah, we are on Viva Aaliyah. Before we get to our guest on Viva Aaliyah, I want to bring on our virtual bartender of the week. We have a very cute Colombian hottie all the way from Queens via Colombia. His name is Valentin.
Hey, I'm Valentin. I'm from Colombia and I've been in the industry for 10 years. I have worked all over New York City and I currently work in Forest Hills, Queens as the bar manager from Metro Taco. I'm going to teach you how to make one of my favorite cocktails at home. It was inspired by Glen Coco from Mean Girls. For the Glen Coco, I'm going to start with Coco Lopez. Coco Lopez is a coconut-based paste. You can find it in any supermarket. I'm also going to use blue curacao, fresh squeezed lime juice, and white rum. I'm actually using Don Q this time. So you're gonna start with 4 ounces of Coco Lopez, 2 ounces of white rum, 1 ounce of blue curacao, and 1 ounce of lime juice. I'm going to use a tiki drink, a tiki glass that is larger than usual. So I use 2 scoops of ice. You can just shake it really well for around 20 seconds. Okay, so it's really cold, should be fine. Just a little bit more ice. And I will garnish it with coconut flakes. And I'll torch it. And that's the Glen Coco. I hope you can enjoy this cocktail at home. As you know, everyone has been struggling in the industry, including bartenders. We cannot be motivated that much to create more. And I hope we can actually go back to enjoy our cocktails at a bar. Cheers.
Cheers, Valentin. Valentin, I have never met you. And in the famous words of RuPaul, we're going to actually twist them around a little bit. I don't know who he is, but he can toast my coconut any day. All right, let's get to the meat of the show. I've not been this excited in a while for a guest. I'm always excited about my guests, but this person is a living legend in our community. Somebody who I look up to and have always looked up to. Somebody I knew before I started drag. I cannot tell you how much it means that she immediately responded and said, I would love to do this interview. This is a dream come true for me. I am so lucky to have this blonde bombshell on the show. I want y'all to give a very Viva welcome to Miss Sherry Vine.
Hi, Diva.
Hi, love. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I'm glad me too. You're so sweet. Living legend. Living would be questionable.
Well, I mean, living or dead, you're still a legend, dear.
You're a sweetheart. Thank you. No, I totally remember you. We met years ago at Therapy Bar in New York. So when you said I'm doing something, I was like, it's very quiet this month. So I was like, yes, girl, let's do it.
I'm glad it's a quiet month for me. Hopefully it's a chosen quiet month for you. I can't imagine it's not.
No, even before Corona, January is kind of always historically slow for me, especially in the nightlife industry and all. But usually in January, we do the Golden Girls live here in LA, which we did last year. And so obviously we can't do it this year. So it's a little quiet, but I can't complain.
I mean, we're still kicking, as we said before.
Yes. And in LA, it's really, really bad right now. So I'm just kind of hanging at the house, and I have a couple friends in my bubble and, working on some stuff.
We're going to talk about those friends here in a minute, but I have a very important question for you.
Oh, yes. Hit me.
What are you drinking? What's in your glass today?
A true alcoholic. No, I have not had a beer. I hadn't had a beer in like 20 years. I'm not even kidding. And I just had this craving one day. I was like, I really want like a dark lager. And I went to the store and I got some Modelo Cerveza dark beer. I was like,
I'm here for it. Cheers to you, babe.
Yes, honey. I'm sorry that Valentin didn't make this, but
I'm sorry he didn't make my cocktail.
Oh, he's cute.
He is a very attractive man.
Yes, he is.
And he's very right. Not only bartenders, but obviously our entire nightlife industry has been affected by this pandemic. So anything anybody can do to help out, I want to be a part of that. So we've had a featured bartender every week on the show.
That's a great idea. I love that. And
oh, wow.
I'm doing fine. So in lieu of tipping me, send it to Valentin. There you go.
Same. Hello from Ireland. We have Irish guests today.
Hi, Andrea.
We love that. All right. So Miss Sherry, you have been doing drag all of 10 years. Tell me actually what it was like for you the first time in drag. What prompted you to do drag the first time?
Girl, have you ever tried to line your lips on a covered wagon?
Not quite. Maybe on the I am Mexican, so on the back of a donkey, maybe.
You said it, not me. It's this year, 2021. I mean, technically, I think 2020 was going to be my 30-year anniversary, but I moved to New York at the end of 2021. It was like November 2021 to really start doing drag full time. So we're going to say this year, as soon as Corona is over, I'm going to celebrate 30 years.
And what got you in drag that first time?
Well, the first time I ever did drag on stage actually was in college.
Okay.
And part of this project that we were tasked to do where we had to do 3 different characters and I wanted to make them as different as possible. So I did like this very, straight Wall Street businessman. And then the second character was this kind of nerdy art director. And the third was a drag queen. And I was in LA then at that time. And I went to this bar called 4 Star, for those who might remember. And that's where Shishi LaRue first performed and Karen Dior and all these queens. And there was this queen there named Erica, who I hung out with and spent time with and watched her and kind of studied her. And I was like, oh, this seems really fun. And so that's the first time that I did drag on stage. And I was like, kind of felt this connection. But honestly, I can look back and be like, oh, when I would read a play, way before I ever did drag, I would read a play and I was connected with the female lead. And it wasn't about, I don't consider myself trans, but I, as an actor, liked the idea of playing these, like Blanche Dubois, Hedda Gabler. I was like, those are the fun parts.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the inspiration came from.
This is, so everybody knows that watches our show that I do send questions ahead of time. You were actually one of the guests I'm most excited about because you told me you didn't really look at the questions.
No.
I mean, obviously I'm excited because you've been inspiration to me, but you didn't look at the questions, and that made me even more excited because it's really coming straight from your thought process and your heart, and I really love that.
Yeah, I didn't read them because I was just kind of like, oh, then it's going to be, I'll start thinking of like, what can I say that's clever or whatever. And I was like, oh, I like it to be more like, spontaneous.
I love that. Thank you for that. You mentioned that you don't consider yourself trans. Do you consider yourself a non-binary person, or is that more in your character? You're just, you aligned more with something that was not in what you portrayed in your everyday?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for myself and not, anybody else. But for me, I mean, after 30 years, I still love performing in drag. I mean, I love it. But I also love when it's over and taking it off. And I don't consider myself non-binary or anything at all. I mean, I'm just like a gay guy who does drag as a career, a job and a career. And I love it. It's my passion. I love it. But I like doing different characters. So if we do Blanche, when we do Golden Girls, I'm Blanche. Or we've done Who's the Boss, Three's Company, all these different shows. And we were scheduled to do a lot more, which will come back when this is all back on track. But for me, I see it more as like it's a character that I do as an actor. And like I said, I'm only speaking for myself. I mean, I'm definitely out of drag, a sissy. And, I keep I don't have any hair on my body. So it's all of that. Maybe if I was in my 20s, I might be more like, oh yeah, I totally am non-binary. I get it. But I don't feel that.
Yeah. You're just you.
I'm a guy loves performing in drag.
I love that. You have a very signature style. You actually talked about shaving, and I kind of think of you as the drag version of like Pamela Anderson in like the barbed wire days. She had that beautiful coiffed hair. You have that smoky eye. You're very leggy. Yes.
Oh, that's such an unfair representation. That first of all, that was Miss Fame did my makeup. It took 4 hours. Miss Fame had me taped, glued the eyebrows down, painted, and then just a little Photoshop.
But even right now, we can see this is your aesthetic. You've had this beautiful blonde hair that is signature Sherry Vine. You always have you have amazing legs, and they're always out. You wear little dresses and short tops that show all of the goods off, and it's very you. And that red lip is signature you. Where did that come from? I know you talked about having like the theater presentation where you had to think of the 3 characters, but where did the aesthetic of Sherry Vine come from?
Well, to be perfectly honest, when I first started performing in drag, it was, I could show you pictures. I should have sent you some that were very, I felt that I had to look funny to be funny.
Okay.
So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
I didn't wear tits. I had this big bubble hair and messy makeup. And it was, it was like, oh, I'm a comedy queen. It doesn't matter. And then I was living with Candace Kane and hanging out with Formica and Candace and Lena. It was like the 4 of us. And and Joey, and then when I met Joey Eris and Raven, like, you know, this whole group, then I was kind of like, oh, I need to like refine this look. And I started to, once I started to get some attention from straight men about the look, then I was like, oh, maybe I'm doing this. And then I was kind of like, well, maybe I don't have to look funny to be funny. And it just kind of evolved. So after like the first year, maybe into the second year of doing Sherry Vine, I just kind of established a look where people are like, oh my God, your legs. And I was like, oh, okay, I need to work on I need to shave my legs and show off my legs. And it just kind of was like, I'm going to be like the, you know, this slutty sex kitten, very Pam Anderson, Stella Stevens, like these different things started to kind of mesh. And I was like, that's going to be my look. And so for like 28 years, it's kind of been the same thing. And I've had girls, other queens, friends of mine, but how can you never wear dark hair or do something different? I was like, well, this was before social media. So I was like, I want to walk into a bar and have people know who I am and not be like, oh, who's that? Oh, is that? No, I want to walk in and be like, oh, there's that horse.
Well, you are definitely recognizable. And when I talk about you to other people who are not familiar with queens, I always say, no, she's literally the blonde bombshell of drag. Like, well, all across the board. You also
I look at other queens like Jack. I talk about Jackie Beat a lot just because she's my best friend and she's in my bubble. So she's one of the few.
Signature style too.
Yeah, but she is an artist, and you know, she can draw and paint her face, and I love that she can do these different looks and pull it off. I can't. I mean, that is the honest God truth. I can do one thing. And that is it. This smoky eye and this lip, and that is it. And every time I'm like, I'm going to do something crazy and different, it's a mess, and it always ends up looking like this. So I was like, you know what? This is my look. This is what I do.
Well, we appreciate it. You did mention Candace Kane. Candace Kane is not a fair person to compare anybody to, because Miss Universe would look at Candace Kane and say, I need to hype it up a little bit. So
yes,
she is a true goddess among people. I just don't understand how she looks the way she does.
I've known her forever, and I've seen her a couple times during Corona, not a lot, because she's also been very strict about social distancing. She's been spending a lot of time with her parents, so she's very careful. She's been very strict, but we text and talk a lot, and I did see her in November. And I've known her forever, 30 years, and I just stare at her sometimes like, fuck, you're beautiful.
And she never ages.
No, she doesn't.
It's rude, actually.
It's really rude.
The rest of us are aging along, and she does not age.
She doesn't. She's a sweetheart. She's one of those people that's just genuinely good.
She truly is. I've been very lucky to meet her at Continental pageants, and she's the sweetest of people.
Yeah.
So
we were roommates, I think, when she won Miss Continental. I remember her rehearsing, and I still sometimes. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there's Candace. She is a dancer too.
She's total. She was the Anne Margaret. That's what we called her in the 90s when she was first started. We were all like, oh, she's the Anne Margaret of drag.
Yes.
And if you know anyone who knows drag history, she's kind of, a direct descendant of International Crisis, who wasn't a drag queen. She was trans, but she was performed at Boy Bar in the bars and stuff. So anyway, Candace was kind of like the descendant from Crisis. She's just stunning.
I don't know if I'll form this more as a question. So you to me come from the golden age of drag. Like, there's a golden age of Hollywood that you truly came from and were still obviously still are going strong, but we're very going strong in the golden age of drag. Do you in your bubble or your close friends talk about that ever? And do you know what that means to like the younger generation?
Yeah, I mean, there's been different points. I think if you did a timeline of drag, especially out of New York City, there's a timeline. There's like a part of the 80s that had Lady Bunny, RuPaul, Floyd, Sister Dimension, Billy Beyond, that whole world. And then in 1991, 92, when I moved to New York, there was this renaissance of amazing, talented queens, most of whom are still performing, which is shocking. Jackie, me, Coco Peru, Varla Jean Merman, Shaquita, Hedda Lettuce, Formica, Sweetie. And it's just like, it's crazy that, and I'm just naming some off the top of it, but there was this like movement where it's like, it was so exciting. And you had drag in the East Village, West Village, Chelsea, Uptown. I mean, like, it was crazy, crazy time. And I am friends with all of these people. I mean, I talk to Coco literally every other day. And Varla I saw in November because we did a project together. We're all still friends. And mostly we just sit around and talk about how fucking old we are. I was talking to Coco last week, and the first 15 minutes of the conversation was all about, girl, I just can't sleep. And oh my God, I'm falling asleep at 9 and getting up at 6. And I said, do you realize for the past 15 minutes, we have been talking about sleep like a fucking old ladies. And we were cracking up because, like, honey, 30 years ago, we had been talking about the ecstasy and dick we sucked the night before. So it was.
Well, we also are in quarantine.
We're in quarantine, yes. But no, I'm so happy that we're all still so close.
It's I mean, it's kind of like, if I think about TV shows, you're kind of like the Power Rangers of drag, really. It's crazy.
I love that, and it is very. I have to say, it is very nice when the younger queens recognize that. Not that they have to or should. I'm not saying it that way at all. I'm just saying that, you know, these 22-year-old queens that are TV stars, that if they know who we are have some recognition, it's really sweet. It's validating. It's nice.
Speaking of TV stars, did the RuPaul generation have an impact on your career, your the way people viewed your shows, the way you were doing shows?
Well, at first, no. And then yes, but maybe not in a great way, just because no one wanted to book us.
Yeah.
They only wanted Drag Race queens. And before Drag Race, there was just a very, very small, like, handful of us that traveled internationally. I was very lucky to be in that group with, like, literally 5 or 6 of us that were on the road constantly. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? But it has kind of gone full circle, and everything's fine. You know, it just kind of that's when Jackie and I were like, okay, we need to do the Golden Girls and battle the bitches and pursue things that aren't bar gigs and club gigs. And that's what we did. And now it's, like I said, it's kind of gone full circle. And you have people from Drag Race like Alaska, Bianca Del Rio, Willem, these queens who want to work with us. And I can call and be like, hey, do you want to, you know, Alaska, do you want to be in the Golden Girls? Or, hey, Bianca has had me open for her for 3 tours now. And so that's really cool and really special. I mean, I was friends with Bianca before Drag Race and a lot of the other ones, but it's nice.
Was there a time when you were like, ugh, this, I did. I know that. I started drag in 2005, and it was before we were able to watch makeup tutorials on YouTube.
Right.
We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have Facebook was, you had to have a college account to get on Facebook.
Right.
We were still using MySpace, and that was just beginning to be big. But the way I learned was by meeting people like you, or I interviewed Maya Douglas. She had a huge impact on me, or Jennifer Fox, who is from Michigan and entertained in the early 80s and is still going strong. And that's how I learned. And I look at it now, and I've since changed my mind, but at first I was like, these privileged young 22-year-olds that are now international superstars. And did you ever have a moment like that?
No, I really didn't. I felt more like, fuck, man, I wish that they had Drag Race 10 years ago, meaning like before, like 15, 20 years ago. Like, I wish Drag Race had been around when I was in my 20s. I mean, I would have done anything to get on that show. It's just a great platform to launch a career. But I was never angry about it. I was, just like I said, I had a moment of panic where I was like, oh, fuck, what am I, am I done? And so thank goddess, we're not. And still, I mean, last year was probably the busiest year of my life. 2019 and parts of 2020, but you know what I mean?
I love hearing that. That made me happy that 2019 was the busiest year of your life. You have been doing quite a few shows, speaking of, in 2020, and you said a small bubble, and one of those people is Mario, who has been with you for quite some time, and you did shows when you first started with Jackie and Mario down in the Village, but you two have been doing shows that have kept us entertained through quarantine. What made you start those? What's the thought process behind them? There it is.
That's our Gaga parody. Well, I've known Mario for also probably 25 years. I don't know, whenever he moved to New York, it was in the mid 90s. And we became friends, and I had a theater company called Theater Couture with Josh Rosenzweig and Eric Jackson. And we worked with a lot of the queens and Justin Vivian Bond and Formica and Candace and a bunch of people. Anyway, Mario, we worked with Mario a lot. He was like our guy, in all the plays. He was the man. And we were roommates here in LA, and Jackie and I were performing in Puerto Vallarta. This was beginning of March 2019. We left early because Corona started to happen, and we were like, we needed to get back here if we were going to be stuck at home. And there was a moment where I was like, I want to wait this out down here in Puerto Vallarta, honey, at the beach. Fuck that. And I was like, I better go home. Jackie's like, I got dogs. I'm going home. So anyway, we cut the trip short. We came home. And once it sunk in that this was not going to be just 2 weeks, Mario and I got on Amazon and ordered a frame for curtain, for filming, green screen, sequin curtains in different colors, lights, a ring light. I got a microphone. I got a sound system. I was like, that's it. We converted the living room into a studio, and that's what we've just been doing, shows and shit since then. You have to kind of adapt and evolve.
You are the queen of parodies. You love to do a good parody. What? Oh, there's all three of you, actually.
There's all three of us.
Three's company. I love that. You have definitely kept me entertained, but you are the queen of parodies, in my opinion. I've seen you do hundreds of.
Can you tell Jackie that?
Probably not. I was gonna say sure, but I would love to interview her at one point too. So, but I will say it here in front of you, and you can show her the recording.
Okay, beautiful. That's a deal.
These recordings stay up on my YouTube. So, but I've seen you do hundreds probably of parodies because you do so many in your shows here in New York when you're showing. What made you realize you were that was your shtick?
Well, it's funny because I was doing parodies in high school. So a decade before I ever put on a wig, I just always did it to make my friends laugh. And then when I first came to LA and was in college, I was performing in bars and stuff out of drag, doing parodies with my friend Robbie. And we were just like these two queens. And if we did like a female character, it wasn't like, it was literally like a guy throwing a wig on. But I have always done parodies. So when I started drag, it just was kind of a natural progression. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do parodies. It's like, oh, I do parodies and I like singing. And so that's what I'm going to do.
Do you remember what the first one you did was?
Out of drag, like the first one ever?
Or if you remember both.
Well, the first thing I ever did was in high school. The high school I went to was doing Wizard of Oz, the musical. And I didn't get the part that I wanted. I wanted to be a scarecrow and I didn't get the part. I was so angry that I wrote a filthy parody to every single song in the show. And I was going to write it out and Xerox it and put it in the programs, but I didn't do that. But I did write a filthy parody about each one. And that was, in high school. And then my first one in drag, I think might have been Korn, which was no, that wasn't the first one. That was the first one that was really popular. I think the first thing I ever did, I did a parody of me and Bobby McGee, Janis Joplin, called Me and Keanu Reeves, which is this whole thing about a love affair I had with Keanu Reeves.
Have you been working on any in quarantine?
Oh my God, that's all I've been doing.
Any new ones that we haven't seen, I should say?
I've got a bunch. I've got like 10 on my desktop that I'm in the process of. I was working on another project for October, November, and December. For 3 months, I was writing, recording, and then filming a new variety show that I'm doing for Out TV. I can talk about it. It's called the Sherry Vine Variety Show. And it took a long time just because because of the COVID restrictions, we had to be very disciplined, which we were. We were very strict. Everybody was tested. We had kept the groups very, very, very small number of people. So it took longer. Anyway, so I didn't give any energy or attention to new parodies because I was doing that for 3 months. And I've just recently started to get kind of the itch back. So I've got a bunch. I'm just going to look on my laptop right now. I've got some I'm writing about Trump that I'm going to do for the inauguration. So yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got like 7 cooking right now.
Wow.
I'm doing a show next Sunday with Jackie Beat, but we decided to do New Year old hits. So we're going to do like our most classic, iconic, I guess, if you will, parodies. And then in February, well, like I said, for inauguration, I'll have some new stuff. And then in February, I'm going to do a show with all new songs.
Where can we see the show with you and Jackie?
If you go to anything on my social media, you can find the links. It's called Show Ponies, and it's showponies.live.
Showponies.live. Everybody
Yay.
Check it out.
Please.
We're going to talk a little bit more about you being on TV, which you've been on multiple times. One of my favorite things that you were on was Project Runway.
Yes.
And you had you were paired with Keith Bryce, and Keith made you a fringed costume, and Michael Kors lovingly said that the garment looked like a molting chicken. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Now, I love that outfit, and he actually did pretty much.
Like it.
He did it pretty much exactly what I asked him to do.
I liked it. I thought you looked great. I thought it showed off the essence of Sherry. You have the legs, you have the hair, you have I mean, you're showing skin. You look like you're just a little punk rock Sherry Vine.
It did come out a little bit more rock and roll. I thought it would be a little bit more Vegas.
Yeah.
And it's a bit more rock and roll, but I mean, I liked it. I was like, I'd wear it, but they were not having it. So I felt bad for him. But I became good friends with some of the people on the show. Suede, I still talk to Suede. Like, we text each other every other day. It cracks me up.
What was your experience like on the show?
I had so much fucking fun. I mean, sincerely, they could not have been nicer. They could not have treated us any better. Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn were both so sweet and approachable, and like coming to Heidi, was amazing. And the best part, sadly, which you don't get to see any of, was like 14 queens shoved in this green room, screaming and laughing. There wasn't really any of that backstage stuff in the show, but I wish someone had filmed all of that because that was hilarious.
There were Sweetie was on with you, Varla Jean, Acid Betty, Head of Lettuce. It was quite the cast. You had a really great cast.
It was a fun day.
Was there anything that you remember and you were like, oh, this isn't what I expected the designers to have to go through?
No. It was interesting to see how it's filmed and all of that. It wasn't like anything scandalous or anything at all, but it was just kind of interesting how the cameras all are facing the contestant, and then the judges, no one else is in the room. It's just them. Then they turn everything around and they film the judges, and then the contestants aren't really there. And then they film the runway. So it's kind of interesting to watch how they put it together. But there wasn't anything scandalous. Like I said, it really was fun. We were just laughing constantly.
That's so cool to hear. I liked your outfit. I thought actually almost everybody did a really great outfit. There was only one outfit that I was like, I don't think that went with the queen. But
I can't even remember who won.
It was I think Varla Jean's outfit.
Varla was pretty amazing. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, I actually just pulled up the episode like 2 days ago just to make sure it was fresh in my head again. But it was such a cool episode. I wish they would do more than that. I will say this: the worst outfit there, and hopefully this doesn't get me blocked from ever being on TV, was RuPaul's. You all looked great.
RuPaul was really sweet. I mean, all the times that I can't say we're friends because we don't hang out or text each other or anything like that. But anytime that I've seen her when she used to come to my shows and stuff, she's been nothing but nice.
Oh yeah, I've heard from friends that have been on the show have said that she's great to work with and will make you intimidated and make you laugh at the same time.
I mean, when I first came to New York, hi Tajma. When I first moved to New York, I was like the baby drag queen, and RuPaul just, 93, I think, was supermodel. So she was huge. And she did a Christmas special, 2 actually, with BBC and one with Channel 4 or something. And anyway, she invited me and I was on both of them. And I just remember being like, oh my God, I can't believe RuPaul's asking me to be on her show. And it was, she was very supportive.
She seems like a very genuine person, and I would love to meet her. Was there anybody when you were going through, sorry, I'm looking at my card just to make sure I'm asking the right questions, but
ask anything you want.
Was there anybody that inspired you when you were growing up, or not growing up, but when you were starting drag, that made an impact on who Sherry is?
There's so many that I feel like if I hate to start listing names because I always think I'm going to forget somebody. There's just so many. Certainly Joey Arias and Raven O, because Raven was the mother of the House of Boy Bar. And when I first started performing at Boy Bar, it was Raven who was like, I don't like your lips. Learn how to fix, really line your lips. And if you're not gonna wear pantyhose, then paint your fucking legs. And so I learned a lot. Raven's like my drag mother. So I learned a lot from Raven. And certainly Joey Arias, because Joey's just so gracious and this amazing creature. Joey invited me to perform with her and Raven at Bordeaux and opened so many doors. So, the person that I feel like was the strongest certainly the person who opened the most doors for me in that early drag days was Joey Arias. She took me to Europe. That's how I got all those connections, was working with her. And they were both so supportive and encouraging of like, oh, you got to be funny and you can still be a whore. And yeah, so Joey's the goddess.
What a again, a legend to have in your corner, and to be able to say that that's a person who inspired me when I was younger. I mean, like I said, I look up to you. I look up to Joey. I didn't even know that. I don't look at you as like this generation or that generation. You're just all kind of in a bubble to me of queens I would love to be like, or know, or have a friendship with. And it's just so great to know that Joey was an inspiration to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Raven, and Sherry, Joey Arias.
That flyer was from Rebar in Seattle, and it's probably like 1997.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Wow. Dominic will find anything. I don't know how he does it, but during the show, he just finds everything. Oh, my mother-in-law.
Hi, Tim. He's very crafty.
He is very crafty, very sneaky, this one backstage.
Jaden,
yes, Jaden Black is from Michigan. If you were to give advice to the Sherrys of the future, what would it be?
Well, I get asked this a lot, and I think the best advice looking back would be to find what you do and that you love to do, and then just exploit the fuck out of it. Don't try to be influenced by other people when it's not really what you do. Like, I'm not going to go and do a show where I'm singing Celine Dion songs without changing the words. I mean, that's not what I do, and I don't do it well. I can't sing like that. There's people that do that better. I'm not going to try and dance. I'm not, you know what I mean? So you have to know what you can do, know what you can't do, find the things that you love to do. And like for me, it's comedy, and then do it. And that's the best advice I can give.
Does Sherry Vine have drag children?
A lot.
Who was your first drag child?
Oh, my friend Scott Martino, who's in Provincetown. He used to go by Demonica, and I'm not sure what drag name is, but he was probably my first drag daughter. But I have a couple in New York City.
Is there a most recent?
Svetlana Stoli. Do you know Svetlana?
Yes.
Little Russian baby.
Actually, I met Svetlana at the same show that you and I met at. I started taking over that show and hosting it, and Svetlana was one of my guests.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's great.
She's amazing, and she's really smart. And what I really appreciate about her is that she knows her shit. Like, she knows about drag and who the queens were, the whole history. And, and she's from Russia. So it's kind of like, I feel like there's no excuse if you want to perform in drag as a career, then know your shit. And there's no excuse now with the internet to not know your shit. When I moved to New York, before the internet, I knew because I wanted to know who the queens were. I knew who Bunny was, and Joey Arias, and Mona Foot, and RuPaul, all these queens. And it was harder to learn about those things then because, like I said, you didn't have Google.
Right.
But certainly now there's no excuse.
You talked about where shows were in New York at that time. What was New York City like to perform in at that time?
Girl. So fun. I hate sounding like grandma, like, well, back in my day, but New York City in the 90s was out of control. It was just like anything goes, and we had fun. God, we had so much fun. We were performing every single night. I remember being like, oh, I've worked every night for a month. And there's just so many venues and clubs and opportunities and stuff going on. We do 2 or 3 shows a night, running around and then laughing and having fun. And girl had a lot of stuff.
I mean, the only thing keeping you now is COVID. So
exactly.
I
was like, you motherfucking Corona. I don't know how much longer I could pull off this look. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like any day now I'm gonna wake up and be like, oh, okay, now I look my age. Time for something different, a different look. I'm just kidding, but do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, don't rob me of this year.
Well, I've heard a lot of people say that they've canceled 2020, and so they're keeping with the age that they were in 2019 and then just aging in 2021.
Yeah, at this point, it doesn't matter for me.
That's what I say. I've never cared about my age, but I've said I'm not going to stop the clock. We're just going to keep on going. When does New York City get Sherry back? That's what I was going to ask you.
Well, it's funny because I just got a call from $3 Bill. Pardon me, from $3 Bill in Brooklyn.
Yes,
$3 Bill. Yeah. And Jackie and I did a show there last January, a year ago, and so he was calling and being like, Adam was like, when can you come back? We got to book you. And I'm like, well, honey, the minute this shit's over. So we're talking about Pride. So in June.
Amazing.
Hopefully before, but
yeah,
by then I think we'll be able to travel and perform.
So pandemic pending, we are expecting you back for Pride.
Honey, the minute I get that vaccine, or the minute that enough people have had it where they're like, okay, we can do the herd immunity, whatever, which is going to have to be soon because otherwise there won't be anything left.
Right. That's very true.
I do think once they kind of vaccinate the most vulnerable people, things will lighten up the restrictions, and I'll get on that plane, girl. Here I come. Well,
I always love seeing you at therapy or industry when you're here, because you do shows there every now and then, and I will definitely come out to $3 Bill. But for those of us East Coasters who aren't out on the West Coast all that often, I do come out for work once a quarter, so I'll have to look you up when I'm there.
Yes,
but
please.
Where can we find you on the West Coast?
Right now in your living room. So
in normal circumstances, I should say.
Well, I haven't worked, I don't have a regular bar night since I left New York. And so I've been really focused on theater shows and touring. And like I said, Jackie and I, we do the Golden Girls twice a year, every January, every August, usually. And then in between, we'll do something different, like Who's the Boss we did Three's Company, we did Designing Women, which was insane. We did Designing Women, and we had a rotating special guest. So every show was someone different. It was Candace, Bianca, Manila, Alaska. It was crazy. So doing, and mostly touring. So this was the longest I've ever gone without being on a plane.
So the best way to find out where you're going to be is probably your website, I'm assuming.
Yeah, if you go to sherryvine.com, it's a one-stop destination, honey. I've got all my merch. You can download my songs, request a cameo, tip a bitch. All the shows that I'm not doing are coming up. And then certainly when we can get back on to touring, that'll all be there. So like I said, yes, there's the show next week with Jackie Beat, Show Ponies. All
right, showponies.live is where you can see that. Both of you are, I can't wait to see it. I'm gonna block my day just so I can get ready for it. Both of you have been inspirations to me. What else is coming up for Sherry Vine? What do you have in your future? What's in your long and short distance? Let's talk.
Right now, I'm pretty I'm completely consumed with working on the variety show. We finished filming in December, and like right before Christmas, we had our last day of filming. That's all done. And now we're editing, which is a whole other huge project. But I'm so excited. Things are coming together. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that's going to air in April. It's 6 episodes. It's going to be on Out TV and then also, I believe, on Amazon Prime. So the Sherry Vine Variety Show. I'm very excited. It was several years in the making to kind of get it. It's really kind of why I moved to LA, and PEG has been very helpful. I mean, they made it happen. And then the director, John Mark, and the guests, like so many, Jackie's in every episode, Bianca's in every episode, special guests, Alaska, Peppermint, Varla. It's going to be, I'm very excited.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, I can't wait.
And then I have one more for you. How does a queen like me get to work with a queen like you?
Well, girl, the minute this shit is over, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, no, I know.
You have to let me know when you're coming out here and we'll do something.
I will more than let you know. I'll give you months notice just to make sure.
Okay, that's a deal.
I just thank you so much for being you and for being an inspiration to people like me. This is an interview that I've been looking forward to for a while. Even reaching out to you was something I was looking forward to. So thank you for being an inspiration and for being somebody who is a part of our history and has made history in New York City. I cannot thank you enough.
Well, honey, it's my pleasure, and I can't wait to see you again in person.
Yes, absolutely. Miss Sherry Vine, I just, wow.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, where's Valentin? I'm kidding.
He's in Queens, apparently, so when you're here, we will go visit him together.
Yes, that's a date.
We'll sit at his bar for an entire day.
That's a date. I'm in.
Sounds good. You can catch her at sherryvine.com. She is the legendary Miss Sherry Vine. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you, darling. Take care. Stay healthy.
All right, Vivas. Next week we have this poor soul has been a dear friend of mine for so long, and we've been pushing off this interview. The last time it was because he was in a recording studio, or the time before that was because he was in a recording studio. The last time was because we had our president-elect elected finally. And so Mr. Paul Morris is going to be with us next week. I'm so excited to finally have an interview with him. He is one of the sweetest vocalists I have ever met in my entire life and sweetest people I've ever met in my entire life. Stay strong, stay positive, make sure that you are taking care of yourself. I love you all. Drink up, dance up, be merry, and don't forget your glass. Viva Aaliyah.
Viva Aaliyah.